When life strips you down, when everything you built crumbles, when the people you counted on disappear, when the dreams you clung to unravel right in your hands, it's not punishment, it's preparation. Because God does not build empires on unstable ground. He clears the space first. He tears down the weak walls. He removes what can't hold the weight of who you're becoming. And yes, it feels like loss. It feels like betrayal. It feels like defeat. But underneath all that pain is a whisper most people miss. I'm not done with you. I'm rebuilding you. This world teaches you to fear the breaking. But the breaking is sacred. The breaking is where the old you dies, and the real you, the durable, deliberate, divine version, is born. No one becomes unstoppable by being pampered. You're not being destroyed. You're being reformed. God didn't forget about you. He's forming the foundation that your future will rise upon. But foundations are never flashy. They're deep. They're dark. They're slow. And they must be tested before the weight comes. So if you're in the middle of the stripping, if the job is gone, the relationship broke, the plan collapsed, then hear me. This is not the end. This is the excavation before the elevation. This is the tearing down of the version of you that wasn't built to last, so that something stronger, truer, and unstoppable can take its place. Edison was told he was too slow. Ford was told he was crazy. Lincoln lost more elections than he won. But they all knew something. When life humbles you, it's not humiliation. It's initiation. And if you can endure this emptiness, this silence, this stretch of nothingness that makes most people give up, you'll emerge different, not just motivated, matured, not just inspired. Ignited. Because here's what they don't tell you. Sometimes God will strip you of the things you prayed for to give you what you were born for. Sometimes your comfort must be broken, so your calling can be revealed. Sometimes your ego has to be starved, so your spirit can finally breathe. So stop asking, why me? Start asking, what's in me that's worth this level of refinement? Because gold isn't purified gently. It's thrown into fire, beaten, melted, stripped of everything that isn't pure. That's what you're going through, not a breakdown, a burn-off, a shedding of who you were never meant to stay. So don't numb it. Don't rush it. Don't escape it. Feel it. Because in the in the stretching, in the uncertainty, that's where God speaks. Not with noise, but with stillness. With truth, with clarity so sharp it cuts through your excuses. You say you want peace, then let go of what you were never meant to carry. You say you want growth, then release the version of yourself that avoids the grind. You say you want purpose, then stop running from the process that reveals it. This is where most people quit. They think God is silent, but silence isn't absence. Silence is strategy. He's watching to see what you do when there's no applause, no feedback, no visible reward. Will you still show up? Will you still believe when the fruit hasn't grown? Will you still build not because you see the harvest, but because you know the soil is good? This is the test that separates the fans from the builders, the spiritual from the superficial, the hungry from the hollow. You wanted purpose. It's here, but it's dressed in pain. You wanted direction. It's here, but it looks like wandering. You wanted strength. Then pick up what's heavy, your doubts, your insecurities, your regrets, and carry them forward anyway. Because progress doesn't always look like winning. Sometimes it looks like not quitting when everything inside you begs for escape. That's what God honors, not perfection, not polished prayers and pretty routines. He honors honest resilience. He honors the ones who kneel in confusion and rise with courage. He honors the builders, the ones who keep laying bricks in the storm. You don't need to understand it all right now. You just need to move. One step, one choice, one hard conversation, 1 hour of deep work, when no one's watching. You're not here to feel good. You're here to grow strong. And strength is earned in the wilderness, not on the mountaintop. Remember Moses? He didn't find his purpose in the palace. He found it in exile. Remember Joseph? His dream wasn't fulfilled in the comfort of his home. It was fulfilled in a prison cell. Even Jesus didn't begin his ministry until after 40 days in the desert. Why? Because isolation is the proving ground. Because stripping is where you stop being who the world told you to be and you start becoming who God designed you to be. So if you're feeling lost, abandoned, discarded, good, it means you've outgrown the version of you that could survive without purpose. It means your soul is waking up. It means construction has begun. The pain isn't proof that you're off track. It's confirmation that you're in transition. And transitions are brutal. They require grief. They require release. They require you to bury your old habits like they're dead weight because they are. You can't take the old blueprint into a new build. So stop trying to fit back into what God is breaking you out of. Stop trying to resurrect what He allowed to die. Stop praying for clarity while refusing to surrender control. This isn't about feeling ready. It's about deciding to walk anyway. And as you walk uncertain, trembling, raw, He walks with you, not ahead, not behind, within. That's where the strength will come from. That's where the vision will come from. That's where the rebuild begins.
Just don't give up. Maria.
The world taught you to seek comfort, to protect your image, to be polished, presentable, pleasant. But God isn't interested in who you pretend to be. He's interested in who you're becoming underneath it all. That's why He lets the storm come, not to destroy you, but to reveal you, to shake loose the masks, the coping, the illusions, to pull the false identities right off your skin, until all that's left is the real you, the one you buried beneath approval, the one you hid behind routines, the one He's been calling forth through the pain. You asked for strength and life gave you struggle. You asked for clarity and life gave you confusion. You asked for purpose and life gave you pressure. Because pressure reveals design. And every ounce of pressure you feel right now is proof that you're being positioned, not punished. The caterpillar doesn't become the butterfly because it watches a YouTube video on transformation. It dies inside the cocoon. The process is violent. It dissolves into nothing before it becomes something. That's where you are now. Dissolving. Dismantling. And if you stay in it long enough, you don't just survive. You emerge. But don't romanticize the process. It's not glamorous. It's not linear. It's not curated for social media. It's ugly. It's lonely. It's sleepless nights and silent mornings. It's choosing to keep your head up when your heart wants to fold. It's doing the work no one applauds and making peace with the fact that no one may ever understand. But this is the path of the builder, the refiner, the chosen. You don't walk it for applause. You walk it because the mission is bigger than your mood. You won't always see the blueprint. God doesn't hand you the full plan, He gives you instructions. One brick, one nail, one yes at a time. And each yes unlocks the next. That's why it feels uncertain. That's why it feels stripped down. Because you're not supposed to lean on the plan. You're supposed to lean on the one who authored it. This is trust, not theory, not theology. Real trust when nothing makes sense, but your spirit says go anyway. That's what this season is for. It's not the punishment season. It's the alignment season, where God prunes what you clung to, so your hands are finally empty enough to carry what's coming. It's the cutting season, where what used to fit no longer does. The habits, the people, the language, the self-image, gone, because He's calling you to speak differently, walk differently, believe differently, And that requires a version of you that cannot exist where you've been. So, he strips, he silences, he pauses the story so you can examine the author. And this is where most people get off the path, because it's easier to go back to dysfunction than it is to stay in discomfort. Easier to crawl back to the familiar than to fight forward toward the promise. But hear me, if you go back, you're not escaping pain. You're just choosing the pain of regret over the pain of growth. And only one of those will lead you to who you were born to be. So plant your feet, lock your jaw, wipe your face, and keep going. Because while you're wondering if God still sees you, He's preparing a foundation that will make sense only after it's laid. And yes, it's invisible. Yes, it's thankless, but it's also sacred. You're not wasting time. You're being rooted. Because when He elevates you, it won't be with empty influence. It'll be with weight behind your words. It'll be with battle-tested wisdom in your eyes. It'll be with a voice that doesn't echo trends, it carries truth. That's what you're being shaped for. Not temporary fire, not surface-level success. Legacy, real purpose, a life built so deep it outlives your name. But legacy isn't handed to you, it's forged in silence, in hidden seasons, in "why is this happening to me?" moments that transform into "I'm glad that happened for me years later." That's how you know the construction was divine. And when you look back, you'll thank the wilderness, you'll thank the break, you'll thank the betrayal, you'll thank the closed doors. Because you'll see it now, none of it was rejection. It was redirection. That's how God moves. He's not just trying to get you to your goals. He's trying to shape you into someone who can carry the weight of the calling without collapsing under it. And sometimes the only way to build that kind of soul is to strip everything else away until all you have left is Him. And that's more than enough. Sometimes God has to tear away the image you built for yourself just to reveal the identity He placed in you before you were born. And yes, it's painful, because the image is polished. The image is liked. The image gets applause, but identity, that's deeper. It's carved, etched, refined in places no one sees. In rooms where the door is shut and the only voice left to listen to is His. You think you've been abandoned, but maybe you've just been isolated for the sake of refinement. Because you can't carry divine weight with worldly scaffolding. You've been busy climbing, chasing progress, chasing status, chasing approval. But God's not trying to take you higher until He takes you deeper. Because if your foundation is cracked, elevation will only collapse you faster. So He strips you down, not to shame you, to save you. He removes the people you leaned on instead of Him. He collapses the goals you made without Him. He shuts the doors you kept trying to force open because you believed your plan was wiser than His. And when you finally stop resisting, when you finally stop blaming and start surrendering, you'll feel it. Not relief, not clarity, but something holier alignment. And that's where the rebuilding begins. Because the most dangerous version of you is the one who's been emptied and still keeps showing up. The one who's lost the crowd but kept their conviction. The one who doesn't need to be seen because they're being shaped. That's the one God can trust with influence. Because you're no longer trying to build a platform. You're building from purpose. And when your life is aligned with purpose, you no longer chase impact. You become it. Think of David, a forgotten shepherd boy, alone in fields no one cared about. No audience, no crown, no stage. But while the world ignored him, God was watching him, testing his patience, strengthening his hands, forging a warrior through repetition and obscurity. So when Goliath stood tall, David didn't flinch because the pressure didn't shape him. Preparation did. And that same story is being written in you. God isn't trying to impress you. He's trying to transform you. Not with lightning bolts or booming voices, but with silence that forces you to listen. With delays that train your patience. with challenges that sharpen your vision, with loss that clarifies what you truly value. Because everything that can be shaken will be shaken, not to ruin you, but to reveal what's unshakable in you. And if you don't feel strong right now, that's okay. You're not supposed to feel strong in the storm. You're supposed to trust through it. That's what real faith is. Not everything is working out. It's even if it's not. I'm still walking. It's Abraham going to the mountain with no ram in sight. It's Job refusing to curse God after losing everything. It's Jesus sweating blood in the garden, still whispering, "Not my will." That's the kind of faith that moves mountains, not the kind that shouts, the kind that endures. And if you're in a season that's asking you to endure, you are not being punished. You are being entrusted. God doesn't break what He doesn't intend to rebuild stronger, and He doesn't strip what He doesn't plan to restore multiplied. But you've got to be willing to stay through the process. Not skip it, not shortcut it, not edit it for Instagram. You stay. You let it do its work. Because this isn't about the next season, this is about the next version of you. The one who no longer flinches when it's quiet. The one who doesn't retreat when it gets hard. The one who doesn't compromise when it's tempting. That version of you, the builder, the anchor, the voice, the leader, can't be downloaded. It must be forged. And forging takes fire. It takes tears. It takes seasons where nothing seems to be working, but everything inside you is being reworked. That's where faith becomes real. Not something you say, something you carry. And when the dust settles, you'll see it. You didn't lose yourself. You found yourself beneath the image, beyond the noise, under the pressure. So let the world misunderstand your silence. Let them question your withdrawal. Let them mock your process. They don't know what's being built. They don't know that what looks like a wilderness is actually a workshop. That what looks like stripping is actually strengthening. That what looks like waiting is actually wiring you for what's next. You don't need their understanding. You don't even need your own. You need trust. Radical trust. The kind that says, even if I can't trace His hand, I'll trust His heart. Because when God is done, you won't just rise. You'll stand different, speak different, lead different. You'll walk with the authority of someone who was buried and chose not to stay dead. You don't rise by avoiding the fall. You rise by refusing to stay buried in it. And the version of you that emerges from this, he doesn't chase anything anymore. Not status, not comfort, not approval. She doesn't beg to be seen. She doesn't shrink when misunderstood. She doesn't wait for the perfect moment. She moves because the fire was never in the conditions. The fire was always in the decision. And now, you've made it. Maybe not out loud, maybe not publicly, but something in your spirit has shifted. That quiet resolve, that deep, I will not go back. It's the moment every great life is built on. Not a celebration, not applause, a conviction, carved in the dark, while no one is watching, while everything hurts. Because that's when you're closest to God, not in the noise of victory, but in the silence of surrender. It's what Jesus did in the garden, sweating blood, alone, betrayed. No cheering crowd, no crown, just a brutal decision, not my will but yours. That's what makes you dangerous when you're stripped down and still standing in agreement with heaven. You've been waiting on a breakthrough, but God's been waiting on your yes. Not your comfortable yes, not your conditional yes. Your yes without details. Your yes in the valley. Your yes without applause. Your yes when nothing is working. Because that's what builds legacy. Not giftedness, not opportunity, but obedience in the unseen. Obedience when it's inconvenient. Obedience when it costs you everything your flesh wanted but gives you everything your spirit needed. And that's why it hurts right now, because your spirit is expanding, and expansion demands space. So God removes what can't go with you. He's not trying to ruin your plans. He's clearing the clutter, the toxic thoughts, the dependencies, the idols, the pride, the fake friendships, the need to control everything. You thought He was punishing you, but really He's just preparing you for what you prayed for. And He loves you too much to let you walk into the promise with old wounds wide open. So He slows you down. He blocks your plans. He disconnects your timeline. Because if He gave you everything you asked for when you asked for it, it would crush you. So instead, He does the harder thing. He works on your character before your calling. He shapes your heart before He expands your influence. He roots you deep, because the higher the calling, the deeper the foundation must go. Don't curse the depth. It's the only reason you won't collapse when the height comes. Think of a skyscraper. The taller it's meant to rise, the deeper the engineers must dig. From the surface, it looks like regression. It looks like destruction. It looks like delay. But underground, the real work is happening. Steel is being anchored. Concrete is being poured. Support beams are being tested. All invisible. Until one day the rise begins. That's you. That's this season. You're being built below the surface, so when you rise, it will be without wobble, without compromise, without collapse. So stop trying to look successful. Start becoming solid. Stop chasing moments that impress. Start chasing moments that anchor. Because when the storm comes, and it will, flashy won't save you, but foundation will. And when that foundation is faith, when it's trust that's been tested in the fire, when it's obedience that's been forged in isolation, when it's identity rooted in truth and not performance, then nothing moves you. You become immovable, not because of pride, because of preparation. And that's what God is doing right now. He's preparing you, not for the life you think you want, but for the life He's known you were born for. The one you were equipped for in the fire, the one you were shaped for in the silence, the one that can only be carried by the version of you that dies to the old and rises in the new. This isn't self-help. This is spiritual construction. This is the wilderness before the calling. This is the pit before the palace. This is the cross before the crown. And there is no shortcut, so stop comparing your timeline. Stop measuring your progress against someone else's highlight reel. They might be building on sand. You're building on stone. And stone takes time. It takes pressure. It takes carving and cutting and storms to shape it. But when it's done, you won't need to announce it. Your life will speak, not with volume, but with weight. People will look at you and wonder, where did this come from? But they won't see the nights you stayed in the fire. The moments you walked with God in complete silence. The tears you buried in your pillow while still whispering, I trust you. They won't see it, but heaven did. And heaven never forgets. Not a tear, not a choice, not a single second of your obedience. It all counts. It's all part of the building, even now. Don't confuse delay with denial. Don't confuse silence with absence. And don't you dare confuse this stripping with failure. Because failure is what happens when you stop. This is what happens when heaven starts. This is sacred demolition. This is holy discomfort. This is the moment in your story where nothing makes sense on the surface, but everything is aligning at the root. And roots don't make noise. They go deep before they go wide. They break the ground quietly. No attention, no applause, no updates, just pressure, just darkness, just the slow, patient preparation of something that will outlast the storm. You're not buried, you're being rooted, and you're not alone. Every world changer went through the same quiet season. Moses didn't lead until he wandered the desert for 40 years. Joseph didn't reign until he was betrayed, sold, imprisoned, forgotten. Jesus didn't heal the world until he was stripped of everything, including his life. So don't be surprised if God leads you into the wilderness. That's where He teaches you who He is and reminds you who you are. Not the version that performs, not the version that needs likes to feel loved. The version He handcrafted before time began. The one you're finally meeting again. This is not a setback. This is a sacred pause, a divine reset, a dismantling of all the noise that used to define you. So let it fall. Let the old identity fall. Let the people who don't see you fall away. Let the fear fall. Let the striving fall. Let it all fall so what's meant to remain can finally rise. This is the great unlearning, the peeling back of everything the world told you was required, so you can finally step into what heaven says is true, and what is true that you are already enough. Not when you hit the next goal, not when you prove them wrong, not when you feel like it. You are enough now, in the silence, in the stillness, in the middle of the mess, because God doesn't build on perfection. He builds on willingness. He doesn't need your performance. He just wants your presence. So stop waiting to feel worthy. Stop waiting for someone else to validate your assignment. You were born worthy. You were born chosen. You were born with a calling that no storm, no person, no failure can cancel. And now you stand at the edge of it, not with fireworks, but with fire in your bones. Not with confidence the world gave you, but with courage the fire taught you. So what comes next? You don't return to comfort. You don't crawl back to safety. You don't try to rebuild the old house God already burned down. You build forward, from the ground, from the silence, from the ashes of who you used to be into a structure that's stronger, deeper, and eternally aligned. You build with faith, not fear. You build with obedience, not opinion. You build with presence, not performance. You build like Noah, who obeyed when the world laughed. You build like Nehemiah, who kept laying bricks with one hand while holding a sword with the other. You build like Jesus, who knew the cross was coming and still walked toward it. Because you now understand, this life was never about being comfortable. It was about becoming unshakable. And unshakable people don't chase noise. They move with depth, with stillness, with power that cannot be measured by followers or fortune. They're not here to impress. They're here to impact. You've been refined for this. Every moment of silence, every unanswered prayer, every tear that fell with no witness but heaven, none of it was wasted. It was all weight added to your voice, to your purpose, to your story. You didn't go through all of that just to go back to scrolling, to surviving, to settling. You went through all of that to be reborn. So breathe, feel your feet on the ground, feel the fire in your chest. That's your signal. The stripping is over. Now it's time to rise, and not like you used to, not frantic, not desperate, not to prove something. You rise now with clarity. You rise with authority. You rise with heaven's blueprint in your bones and conviction in your spine. And you build, not just a brand, not just a name. You build a life so deeply rooted in truth that no failure can shake it. You build habits that sharpen your mind, standards that protect your peace, boundaries that honor your purpose, disciplines that anchor your identity, and a connection to God so real it silences every voice of fear. Because you've learned when life strips you down, it's not to shame you. It's to reveal the foundation. And when that foundation is God, you can lose everything and still rise. So don't ask for the storm to end. Ask for eyes to see the structure He's building in you through it. Ask for the endurance to stay faithful when it's hard, the humility to be rebuilt from the inside out, the fire to stay obedient when it's quiet, and the vision to build something that eternity won't forget. Because when all is stripped and all is gone, the only question left is, what did you build with what He gave you? And your answer starts now. This is where the old ends. And not with a bang, but with a whisper. A holy stillness, where your ego no longer gets the final word. where your plans no longer control the outcome, where you stop trying to force the blueprint and finally submit to the architect. Because when you're stripped of everything you thought you needed, you finally see what was never optional: faith, obedience, and the quiet fire of purpose that won't let you quit. You don't rebuild the old life. You build something new, something rooted in truth, something born of alignment, not ambition. And you build it differently now, with fewer distractions and a much stronger foundation. This is the rebirth that no one claps for, the resurrection they don't post about, the one that doesn't come with lightning, just quiet clarity, firm footsteps, and a soul that's been through the fire and chose to come back better. It's not about proving them wrong anymore. It's about proving God right. He called you worthy. He called you chosen. He said you were worth rebuilding. And now you move like someone who finally agrees with Him. You carry the silence differently now. It no longer feels like abandonment. It feels like training. You see the waiting differently now, not as wasted time, but as sacred preparation. You see the pain differently now, not as punishment, but as pressure meant to form someone stronger, wiser, cleaner. And now, you see yourself differently too, because you know what it took to get here. The pieces of you that died, the parts of you that had to be stripped away, and the version of you that stayed, that stood, that kept showing up even when no one was watching. That version of you is holy. Don't ever shrink back from it again. You didn't get here by accident. This clarity was earned. This strength was built. This peace was paid for in tears, in patience, in obedience, when no one understood. So from here forward, you don't move like someone still deciding. You move like someone sent. You walk into rooms with the quiet authority of a builder who knows the blueprint. Not because you wrote it, but because you surrendered to the one who did. You show up with integrity, not urgency. With rhythm, not rush. With intention, not noise. Because now you understand what you build in the spirit shows up in the natural. When your inner life is in order, your outer life begins to reflect it. The chaos clears, the drama dies, the distractions shrink, and the mission sharpens, and you're no longer confused about what matters. It's not the metrics, not the recognition, not the more you once craved. What matters now is alignment. Your words align with your actions. Your habits align with your purpose. Your thoughts align with your faith. And your vision finally aligns with His. You stop settling, not because you're angry, but because you're aware. You stop chasing approval, not because you don't care, but because you're no longer for sale. You stop negotiating your calling, because you realize God doesn't offer discounts on destiny. So let them doubt, let them scroll past, let them stay in noise. You've got building to do, not for a moment, but for a movement. And this time, you're not building from ego. You're building from assignment. So protect the new you. Guard your mornings. Sanctify your evenings. Speak less. Listen deeper. Think long. Act sharp. Move slow when it's noise, but with force when it's purpose. Because you know what's at stake now. You've seen what distraction can cost. You've tasted the silence of being stripped, and you refuse to waste it. You've buried too much of the old you to go back and dig it up now. So you move forward, not faster, but deeper. You start praying differently. Not God, give me what I want, but God, give me what you trust me to carry. You start working differently, not for attention, but with anointing. You start loving differently, not from emptiness, but from overflow. Because this is what God was building the whole time. Not just a better life, a bigger vessel, capable of carrying vision, capable of holding weight, capable of enduring pressure, and still pouring out peace. And from that place, you become unshakable. Not because the storm stops coming, but because you've become the kind of person who doesn't fall when it does. You've turned the silence into your sanctuary. You've turned the fire into your focus. You've turned the pain into your platform. And now you don't speak with theory. You speak with testimony. Because you've walked through the stripping. You've stood through the silence. And you've emerged, not weaker but wiser. Not smaller but sovereign. Not bitter but built. So if life ever strips you again, and it might, you'll remember, this is how God builds. He tears down what can't hold you. He removes what can't come with you. He breaks what was breaking you anyway. And He builds again from the ground, from the silence, from the Spirit. And if you let Him, He will build something through you that not even time can erase. Something eternal, something sacred, something undeniably you, but unmistakably His.